Hey, how y'all doing? This is Mongo Slade, and this topic today is going to be why you should not listen to intellectuals online, specifically those who do YouTube and tweet and write books, especially if they're public intellectuals, especially if they rose to prominence within the last 2 or 3 years. You probably should not be listening to these people. Now, the reason why I'm making this video is because of the debates, the Trump Biden debates, and the outpouring that I saw of people looking for reasons to vote for Joe Biden. Now, I'm not going to say that that's a bad thing. Okay, I don't care who people vote for. That's not the problem. The problem is these people claim to be anti-woke, and yet they want to give the woke more power. And I'll tell you why a little bit later. To build this argument, I'm going to use two people who are much smarter than I am. F.A. Hayek wrote a paper called Intellectuals and Socialism. I'm going to read a little bit from that. And I also have a gigantic book from the intellectual titan himself, Thomas Sowell. I'm going to read pieces from that as well. And so essentially what I'm going to read from them is going to be the working definition of intellectual for this conversation. And then I'm going to get into how you can tell that these people are grifters and that they're basically just being anti-woke, essentially for money and to create a brand for themselves. So let's first go into Hayek. So the first thing we learn from Hayek is that socialism has never been a working class movement. That is essentially born from theorists, what he called intellectuals. An intellectual need not have specialized knowledge, nor be particularly intelligent. What qualifies one as an intellectual is the wide range of issues which they discuss, not just artisans, commentators, and scientists. They may have specialized knowledge in one subject and is yielded to in other subjects because of it. They are organs for spreading ideas. Intellectuals decide what views and opinions reach the masses and what facts are important, usually a minority of the facts. The artificial stimulation of this class is aided by copyright law. In other words, their ability to write books and copyright their different information. An intellectual's job is to have knowledge the employer does not, and therefore his activities have limited direction, what Hayek refers to as intellectual discretion. This leads to them to follow their own convictions. The execution of policy often left in the hands of intellectuals as well. This meaning other intellectuals. I'm just reading some notes from Intellectuals and Socialism. I'm going to jump over to Sowell, who's going to be a little bit more direct with the definition. Socialist intellectuals are viewed as highbrow radicals. Their influence is not appreciated. Intellectuals don't judge ideas by merit, but by how they fit into generalized conceptions. Modern, advanced, progressive. Consistency with other views held by intellectuals. There is a climate of opinion. What ideas are born in other fields, borrowing fashions and catchwords in other fields. Democracy, quote unquote, is one of those kind of catchwords. They recruit in intellectual spaces, and due to the brighter, active, intelligent people on university faculties to be socialists, but not experts. Those who accept society have other options in gaining influence and power, an expert scholar. Now, the difference between an intellectual and an expert is an expert usually specializes in one field. Okay, they have one field. Like you may have an expert scientist, an expert sociologist, an expert psychologist. They're not a person who typically dabbles in a lot of different fields. So let's go over to Thomas Sowell. And here I'm going to read a passage from his book, Intellectuals and Society. And I'm going to read pages 4 to 5. I'm not going to read the whole page. I'm just going to define intellectuals for the purpose of this conversation. We must be clear about what we mean by intellectuals. Here, intellectuals refer to an occupational category, people whose occupations deal primarily with ideas, writers, academics, and the like. Most of us do not think of brain surgeons or engineers as intellectuals, despite the demanding mental training that goes through and despite the intellectual challenges of their occupations. Similarly, virtually no one regards even the most brilliant and successful financial wizard as an intellectual. At the core of the notion of an intellectual is the dealer in ideas, As such, not the personal application of ideas, as engineers applies complex scientific principles to create physical structures or mechanisms. A policy wonk whose work might be analyzed as social engineering will seldom personally administer the schemes that he or she creates or advocates. That is left to bureaucrats, politicians, social workers, the police, or whoever else might be directly in charge of carrying out the ideas of the policy wonk. Such labels as quote unquote applied social science may be put on the policy wonk's work, but that work is essentially the application of general ideas only to produce more specific ideas about social policies to be turned into action by others. The policy wonk's work is not personally carrying out those specific ideas. As a physician applies medical science to particular flesh and blood human beings, or as an engineer stands in hip boots on a construction site where a building or a bridge is being built, the output, the end product of an intellectual consists of ideas. So these are people who do not produce a damn thing. Okay, now I'm just talking myself. These people don't produce anything. All right, because they don't produce anything, what they say about most things does not matter and should not matter. Now, what got me all riled up was after the debates, Trump acted a fool on stage because that's what he does. A lot of people looked for any reason that they could possibly have to vote for Joe Biden or to virtue signal to everybody saying that, I'm going to vote for Joe Biden because I didn't like that Donald Trump's eyebrows were uneven, or I didn't like how he answered the question about white supremacists, or I didn't like that he was interrupting Joe Biden. There was always some excuse, which wouldn't be a problem if, and only if a lot of these people did not have a platform solely because they have been talking about being anti-woke. Now, this is what really bothered me, because I said to myself, the grift is real, baby. These people who have been selling books, starting up podcasts, starting up YouTube channels, talking about how wokeness is going. Oh my God, wokeness is so bad. It's ruining the universities. It's getting people fired from their jobs. It's destroying our neighborhoods. Antifa is blowing up everything. It's so terrible. And then they turn around and vote for these same people. That is absolutely insane. It is absolutely insane. That goes to show that these people are not intellectuals. They're grifting. Okay. They want the money of the anti-woke. But when it comes down to doing the work, holding their nose and saying, you know what, voting for Trump, that would suck. But you know what will really suck? Letting the woke get in control of more of society. These people who they arrest people for rioting and looting in Portland and Seattle, but the woke district attorneys let them go. So these people get released back into the street where they go right back to destroying and looting and rioting the next day. One of the guys that Kyle Rittenhouse shot, I believe, had been arrested for rioting before, only to be released. No, actually, it wasn't the guy that Kyle Rittenhouse shot. It was the guy who killed the young man in Portland. He had been arrested with a gun previously, but he was released by the district attorney, and he went out and killed someone. Because this is what politically minded people who are in positions of power do with the power that you give them. They use it for political purposes. So then when folks got mad at them, I'm going to start saying names in a minute, but I just want to give you some general ideas. I don't want to be a muckraker. The idea is that they say, well, one of them said, well, I still believe in liberal policies like universal health care. So, I mean, why would I don't like right-wing policies. I don't like right-wing ideas. I'm a liberal. And I said to myself, that should be it right there. That's like amazing. I just literally just said it, right? If you give woke people more power, they will use it and abuse it. So you want to put the same people that you're complaining about who get in a position of power in the universities and they get people fired from their jobs. You want to give that person control over somebody's health care? Because you want universal health care that's going to end up in the hands of the woke, who are then going to decide who lives and dies? You're going to put those people in control of the education system, what people learn. They already in control of the education system, by the way, with that silly 1619 project that they created. The woke created that. The woke intellectuals created that. Then the anti-woke intellectuals decided they were going to destroy it because it really didn't mean anything. But when it came down to actually doing the work of saying, you know what, either I'm not going to vote because I don't believe in voting, or, I won't vote for Trump and I don't believe in empowering the woke. Their idea is, maybe if I vote, maybe Trump and maybe Biden and Harris will do something about the woke. Oh, maybe they'll keep the woke at bay. It's like they are so silly, and this would make them, they can't possibly be experts. Okay? For starters, there is information. All of the woke shit you see in the media today, all the violent stuff like kill all men, like the former CEO of Twitter talking about capitalists getting put up on the wall, the firing squad or whatever. All this stuff is rooted in shit that is old. I'm talking old. You can find feminist pamphlets written in the 1970s, like the Scum Manifesto. This stuff was in the universities when they were in school. So all of these people that you probably look up to and think that they're just the smartest people in the world, they were sitting in classrooms not challenging this stuff. They were absorbing it. But the problem is, all of a sudden, it started to encroach in what they were doing. Like the old saying goes, they came for the Jews, but I said nothing because I wasn't a Jew. That's kind of how it goes, right? All of these people who were indifferent, like one of these guys is a mathematics professor of the Weinsteins. They are in biology. They probably heard this stuff, didn't say anything about all of this shit as it was going on. It wasn't until it came to their doorstep, until the woke were knocking on their door, that everybody all of a sudden was like, whoa, this stuff is completely out of control. It's like, I was an undergrad and knew this shit was wrong. So how are these people professors for years and years and years and said nothing, did nothing? And now all of a sudden they're going to do something. Now all of a sudden they're going to try to fix the problem. No, they're grifting. Because I'm going to tell you why. Over the last couple of years, all these people saw Jordan Peterson, a humble psychologist from, I think, the University of Toronto, came out of nowhere, became like this huge hit, this father figure to millions of people. He was going on books. He had like a huge book. I even have the goddamn book. He went on a huge world tour, made millions of dollars. They drove him fucking crazy. He ended up taking pain pills and ended up in the goddamn psych ward somewhere. They drove Jordan Peterson fucking crazy. Okay? But they saw the money. They saw the power. They saw the influence. And this is one of the things that Tommy Sowell talks about, is that ego is a high motivator for the intellectual, right? They see other people getting that respect. And I can tell you, all these people saw Jordan Peterson. He was everywhere. For like 2 or 3 years, he was literally everywhere. There were clips of Jordan Peterson everywhere. And then all of a sudden you started seeing all of these different intellectuals come out of nowhere. They're anti-woke now. They're talking about, oh, this trans stuff, they've gone too far. I'll accept gender as a social construct, but they're going completely too far. They want to have men run in the Olympics with women. That's crazy, right? It's like, yeah, everybody with a brain knew that. We don't need all you numbskulls to come from your ivory tower to tell us what we already know. Okay? This is bullshit. Now, there are, like I said, the Weinsteins are 2 of them. The wife, she's not that bad. But Brett Weinstein, I've been on to him for a long time. He's full of shit. Helen Pluckrose, she's full of shit. There's the Wingard brothers, they're full of shit. Okay, Coleman Hughes, full of shit. all of these people, they continue to vote in certain ways. And what they'll tell you is, oh man, I just want to have universal health care. Or I want to save the politics of decency. And then what they going to do when the firing squad comes? Because Antifa doesn't just, once you say you built your entire brand around being anti-woke, you're done. You can't go back. This isn't the days of you can say, oh, I didn't really say that. Your face is everywhere. Your tweets have been screen captured and saved by Antifa. If they get power, you are done. Okay. And the best they could do is take your job from you. If you give them too much power, you're going to be up against the goddamn wall, because there is no such thing as being anti-woke. How many times have you seen this through history? From the French Revolution to goddamn Germany to Italy to France. I said France already, but you've seen this again and again. When the socialists take over, they put people against the fucking wall. Cuba, Argentina, over and over again. It is a recurring pattern. When socialists get power, people start getting killed. That is just kind of how it is. They use their power to kill people who do not agree with them. So you think that just by voting for Joe Biden, that all of a sudden all your sins will be swept away? No. You already been labeled anti-woke. You might as well go full born with it if for no other reason than hell you get to live another 4 fucking years. You don't know what's going to happen. But that's people who live and work with the mind. They don't know what it means to go out and, for starters, they're wrong from a public policy standpoint. You know, socialism is an anti-liberty stance. Anytime you talk about increasing anything or universal health care or criminal justice reform, you have to look at what does that do? What is the likely outcome of doing that? You can't just do it because it feels good. There are outcomes. Okay. So when you have, like I said, these sympathetic criminal justice figures, these woke district attorneys, these woke mayors in these cities, what you get is increased crime because they make an excuse for all the looting and the stealing. Oh, it's not that big of a deal. There are people who are hungry. They're homeless. Oh, they're doing it because they're mad about Breonna Taylor and so and some other dead black person that they didn't have no idea about. It's like, no, they're just looting because you let them. They're looting because you let them. The family members of these people are not out looting. It is people who would not recognize a picture of them if you showed it. Because it is not about, and for starters, it is completely within the realm of intellectuals to believe that they can explain group behavior, right? That they can collectively read minds. You know, that's one of Thomas Sowell things is people believe that they can read minds. You know, like I can read your mind and tell your true intentions. That's what I'm doing right now, though, right? I'm telling people's true intentions. But I'm looking at what they're doing and making an observation about their behaviors and how their behavior is different from what they say. And then they say, well, there's a difference between liberals and socialists. Like, I can be a liberal and on the left without being a socialist. And I say, well, agreeing with 65% of Antifa is not enough. If you don't agree 100%, you go against the wall. That's how it works. Once they already have a foothold, you don't get to say, I agree with 98%. You have to agree with 115%. You have to be ahead of the curve or you go against the wall. Because it's constantly changing. You have people apologizing for things they said 2 weeks ago because they thought it was okay. Look at what they're doing to J.K. Rowling. They've taken her intellectual property and now they're going to redo Harry Potter books as movies or TV shows or something without her being involved in it. Because everybody's offended by her. Because she says she's a transphobe. It's like what she said is basic fucking biology. And then these same anti-woke intellectuals will say, you know what? There's nothing wrong with what J.K. Rowling said. And then they would get all the likes on Twitter and everybody watch all their videos and listen to their conversation, their chatterboxing, while they sit down and talk with Dave Rubin and shit. They will do all that. Okay. You'll sit and watch that. They'll make money off that. And then they will turn around and stab you in the back and say, well, I don't like your ideas. I want universal health care. And if voting for the woke will get me universal health care, then great. Fuck who gets killed. Fuck how much of the system fuck whose life they ruin. I want universal health care. So if you get your life ruined because of it, so be it. Common sense would tell you the only true intellectual pursuit is to limit the power of governments. Period. That way, there can be nobody who gets into these positions and abuses the power because the goddamn point it wouldn't exist. And I'm not even one of these ANCAPs who didn't think that you should abolish the government. But I'm saying that you need to understand the more power that you give to people who are radicals, the more they will abuse. It's in their nature. They have an actual belief that they are correct. It is a religious belief that they are correct. This is something else that you learn from reading Mises or Hayek or Thomas Sowell. It is almost a belief, like a faith, that they are correct, that people can be changed through institutions, that people can be changed if you apply enough government force to them. You can get rid of racism and sexism. You just have to arrest everybody. You just have to strip away their job, strip away their family, take everything from them. They'll change. If you apply enough pressure to a person, they'll change. Like goddamn right, they'll change. They'll break too. And that's how you end up with people against the wall. But I mean, I'm just a fool making YouTube videos in his bedroom. So no, you ain't gotta listen to me. You don't gotta listen to me. But I'm saying don't listen to these public intellectuals. Most of them have no idea what they're talking about. Like I said before, there's a lot of PhDs, especially leftist PhDs, that cannot read a chart. Okay? They cannot do a regression analysis. They don't even know what it is. But they just know how to cite other far leftists. That's what they do. There's a lot of them. But I'm talking about today, I'm mostly just talking about the people who claim to be anti-woke, and they're not. They're only half woke. They haven't gone the full way yet. They are sympathetic to the woke. They are not the antithesis to the woke. So they cannot fix the problem. They cannot help you fix the problem. The only thing they can do is bring up intellectual entertainment to you by ridiculing the woke, challenging the woke to debates and all that crap. Meanwhile, they and the woke are going to go to the goddamn voting booth and vote to take your money to put you under the yoke of the woke. That's what they're going to do. They're going to ruin your goddamn life. Because they have a belief that it doesn't have to be that way. Even though they see literal, real life, not theoretical, literal, real life problems going on from the woke being in control of society. But again, I don't know what I'm talking about. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Like the video, share, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later.